What is up, party people? It is January 2nd, 2026, and my shift just got canceled. So I thought I'd sit down and do this instead. Everybody had a Wrapped this year. You got, the classic Spotify Wrapped, you got a Steam Wrapped, even fucking Discord had a Wrapped this year. But, there was one Wrap that was missing from my life, so I had to make it myself. So this is a spreadsheet I made called my Yaoi Wrapped 2025, and it's just a spreadsheet of all of the guy on guy content I consumed this year. And I'm gonna be straight up with you. I'm a Fujoshi, okay? I just don't think there's any point in lying about it. No, I don't know. No, I am, okay? This is what I am. I'm calling it what it is, so I'm here to share the information I've gathered, and I hope it'll help my fellow Fujos out, or whatever. I basically just wanted to talk about all this shit. On my spreadsheet, I've broken it down into 3 different categories, okay? The first category is not technically BL or yaoi, but has implicit themes. And I wanna stress the definition of implicit themes. It does not mean that I watched a show and I think that these 2 guys should kiss, okay? That's not implicit themes, okay? You're not gonna find fucking My Hero Academia on here, or Demon Slayer or some shit. No. It does not get in implicit themes just because it might have popular yaoi ships. I don't even know if Demon Slayer has popular yaoi ships. I don't care. But implicit themes means that it has to be authorial intent. And that is either because the author said so themselves, or I personally believe that based off what I know about the author, okay? Implicit themes means that it has to be intentional from the author's point, that they meant for this to be read as queer subtext or what have you, okay? And so the first one on this list, it might be controversial putting it in this category, but everybody went crazy about it this year. I watched the anime and then I got sick of waiting for the anime episode, so I read the manga. It's really, really good, right? I gave it a 9 out of 10. These all have ratings. The first one is The Summer Hikaru Died. And I put it in this category because the mangaka said that she does not consider the story BL. And I have to agree, right? I don't think that we're necessarily gonna get guys kissing in this story. I mean, it's still early on, though she said that I think that it's like 3/4 of the way done or something. So I don't think we're gonna get any guys kissing in this story. So if that's what you need from your yaoi, I still think it's really good, but you're not necessarily gonna get what you want here. It is more of a horror story with queer themes, okay? But for those of you that don't know, you should all check it out because it's really good. Both the anime and the manga, loved it, so good. The Summer Hikaru Died is about these 2 boys who grew up together in this small rural Japanese town, and the main boy, Yoshiki, his best friend Hikaru went missing for a week 6 months ago, and he came back different. And it's because the real Hikaru died, and now this entity has taken over his body. And now Yoshiki has to sort of wrestle with this grief that nobody else around him is experiencing. So he knows that Hikaru is gone, but nobody else around them does. And he isn't really ready to let go of his best friend. So keeping this thing around, even though it's not the real Hikaru, is his way of staving off his grief. And this is also intermingled with the fact that, and this was, sorry, spoilers, this thing's gonna have a lot of spoilers because I'm just gonna say whatever the fuck I want about these series, but Yoshiki had romantic feelings for Hikaru that he never told him about. And so he is sort of having to deal with the ghosts of these feelings that can never now come to fruition. And he'll never know what the real Hikaru's answer would have been if he told him how he felt about him. He'll never know if Hikaru felt the same about him. And so it's a really, really good story about sort of like loss and identity and friendship and kind of what it means to be like normal in this world. There's a lot of strong themes about you have to be normal, you cannot let yourself become changed or corrupted. Obviously the fake Hikaru is playing his part, pretending to be normal, trying to be the real Hikaru, Yoshiki being the only one who's figured him out so far. But we all sort of play these roles in our lives where we pretend that we are normal. Yeah, so that series is still ongoing, and typically I don't give like ongoing series a rating, but I gave this one 9 out of 10 because it's just, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. Especially the anime adaptation. The anime I like the manga, I do really like the manga, but the anime adaptation did such a good job as an adaptation. They really, really went into it with things that you can only do in an anime. And I like how there was a lot of the scenes they sort of like reordered, so it kind of changes like our reading of them as a viewer, to be sort of like more intuitive rather than having like the ideas like handed to us. Like it really lets you sit with its themes and scenes and think and wait. Also, this is going to be relevant to the next entry on my list, but part of the way that they queer-coded the characters in this story is that Yoshiki and Hikaru's favorite manga is Hunter x Hunter. It's not called Hunter x Hunter, it's Master, but it's Hunter x Hunter. It's Hunter x Hunter. And this is how they queer-code the characters, and they very, very directly draw parallels between God and Killua, which I think is just... it's so good. It's so good. Everybody check it out. It's so fucking good. Even if you're not interested in BL, which is like, I don't really know why you're watching this. Maybe you just wanted to listen to somebody talk. But yeah, even if you're not into BL, the summer Hikaru died. The next entry on this list, this is not the first time I've watched or read this series. I first did in, I think, like 2021 or something. But I watched it all again this year, reread a bunch of the manga, and I actually watched the entire thing like almost twice through this year because I'm crazy, okay? I'm crazy, okay? But the next entry on my list is Hunter x Hunter. And yes, this goes into the implicit themes category because maybe I'm insane, I just did say I'm insane, but Hunter x Hunter has queer themes as a story, and I think that it is a lesser reading of the story if you try and argue that it doesn't have queer themes. For those of you who don't know, Hunter x Hunter is a very like epic, long-spanning shonen manga. It's one of the best shonen series out there, and I especially really love the 2011 adaptation. I've read the manga, not in its entirety, but I've read a lot of the manga, and I've seen the anime like 3 or 4 times now. This is a really, really popular series. It's like 8th most rated or watched on my anime list. So that means it's consumed by like a lot of normies. Like these are people whose only fucking animes are like, what do normal people watch? Like Attack on Titan and like Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia. I'm sorry, I don't mean to hate on those series. That's what I think of when I think of like normie anime. What's on Netflix? That's what normies watch. But like Hunter x Hunter is also on Netflix. Normies watch Hunter x Hunter and they're like, yo, are these guys, are they gay? And the answer is yes, they're gay. Of course, they're gay. What the fuck are we even talking about? They're gay. Hunter x Hunter is basically the story of these 2 little boys, they're about 12 years old, Gon and Killua, who meet and become best friends on their journeys to become hunters, which sounds, you know, like really fun and lighthearted, but I call it my beloved, pretentious, and esoteric shonen anime because it's it gets very like complicated and convoluted, and almost anything you try to explain about the story makes you sound like a fucking insane person. Like, I always try to explain to people, like, the load-bearing dodgeball match. But that dodgeball match went crazy, okay? And it says so much about both Gon and Killua's characters. The giant mutant ant arc. It makes you sound insane when you try and talk about it. It's a story about these two little boys who are best friends, but they have this very like instantaneous and special connection because both of them have been isolated throughout their childhoods from other children. They've never really had peers or anybody else to connect to in the way that they connect to each other. Gon grew up on a small island where he was the only child around, and Killua was raised in isolation in a large family where he has 4 other siblings, but he was trained his entire life to be an assassin. And he was told that, you know, he would never have friends, that he doesn't have feelings, that he is just like a emotionless machine that was trained to be a killer. Most of the queer themes in the story come from Killua's character. I believe that the feelings between Gon and Killua are mutual. I do believe that, but I will not lie that even though Gon is my favorite character, I can acknowledge that most of the queer themes and most of the queer readings within the story come from Killua's character. You know, his family trained him to be an assassin. He decides that, you know, like, this isn't the life I want to live. He goes against his family. The first decision he makes for himself is that he wants to be with Gon, right? He wants to be Gon's friend. Like, the way his family reacts to this is like, no, you're just confused. This isn't how we raised you. Is very like reminiscent of the idea of like a young boy like coming out to his family. So Gon has a very set goal as a character. He wants to go and he wants to find his father who abandoned him as a baby to continue his career as a hunter. So he wants to become a hunter so he can understand the reasons why his father abandoned him. What is so great about being a hunter that it makes it better than having a family? He also wants to prove himself by being able to find his father. Versus Killua as a character, he does not have these concrete goals in the way that Gon does. His only desire is to be with Gon. He experiences like a lot of self-doubt. He does not believe that he is capable of love. He is too selfish to truly love someone. He has this constant fear that, you know, because of his own survival instincts and the way that he was raised, that given the opportunity, he would leave Gon behind to die. Killua's personal quest as a character is to prove to himself that he is capable of love and that specifically he loves Gon. This is a very beautiful relationship in the way that it helps both of them grow as characters, especially Killua. But there is an undeniable toxic element to their relationship. Killua's feelings for Gon, I'm not even gonna say border on, they go into the level of obsession, where he's like, if I can't put my life on the line for him, if I'm not willing to kill and die for him, I'm not even worthy to be by his side. And all of his sense of self-worth is tied up in his ability to love Gon and to be there for him. I rewatched this series a few times, so this is the first time that I've rewatched it, that I've actually watched the Chimera Ant arc again, because it's like, it's a good arc. It's so good, but it's just like, oh my god, it fucking destroys me. It destroys me. A lot of Killua's struggles is to prove his worthiness in his like ability to love Gon. A big part of this arc is this theme of like weakness, right? It's kind of like the first time in the story where the characters are truly up against insurmountable odds and they have to face the consequences of their own weakness. It's not like there hasn't been other times in the story where Gon and Killua failed, but this is really the first time in the story where it's like, there are consequences because I am too weak. And the weakness that Killua has to face is his inability to protect Gon because of the way that he cannot get his own fear under control. In this really like emotional moment, Killua is able to defeat his fear in order to protect Gon. He literally like rips the physical manifestation of his control and abuse and trauma from his brain, and he is finally able to protect Gon. And you really find this confidence shift in him after this point. You know, I can finally do this. Like, I can take care of him. I can do this, right? I can be there for him. I'm finally worthy of him. But now, the enemy that Gon is facing is not external. It's internal. For the first time in his life, he is experiencing true loss and grief. And no matter how hard he tries, no matter how much he reaches out to him, there is nothing Killua can do to fight these feelings that and this experience that Gon is going through. Now you can protect him physically. You can save him from the people who are trying to hurt him. Now save him from himself. Now save him from grief. And Killua just fucking destroys himself because he cannot save Gon from himself. If you liked The Summer Hikaru Died and you liked the dynamic between Hikaru and Yoshiki and the dynamic of, I cannot change him. I cannot stop him from becoming a monster. So, fuck it. I'm a monster too. Drag me down with you. If you like that, watch Hunter x Hunter. It's a masterpiece. And obviously, I give Hunter x Hunter a 10 out of 10. Next entry on my list in the not technically BL or yaoi, but has implicit themes is Berserk. Now, I watched the 1997 Berserk anime for the first time last year, but this year I did watch it a bit because I love that anime a lot. It's a really good anime. But I also finished reading the manga and I watched the Golden Age movies. First of all, you might be like, Berserk? Why does Berserk belong in this category? And to that I say, do you know anything about Berserk? Okay, this is literally what Berserk is about. But to back up my implicit themes argument, the creator Kentaro Miura did say that the story was inspired, or one of the inspirations for the story was Kazutoki no Uta, which is a very famous manga as it was the first professionally published yaoi manga. So, he literally said the story was inspired by yaoi. Like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to tell me. The themes are implicit. But, you know, unlike The Summer Hikaru Died and Hunter x Hunter, where it's like, these are really good stories, but I think you should watch them even if you're just into yaoi. Maybe don't watch Berserk if you're just in it for the yaoi. Maybe you can watch the 97 anime, but like, Berserk is pretty famous for having every fucking bad thing you could possibly have in a story. You know, like there's pedophilia, rape, gore, torture, everything is in Berserk, right? It's a really, really dark story. I think what makes Berserk special is that it's not just, oh, this edgelord edge fest. It is a story that genuinely cares about the feelings of its characters. And, you know, the core of this story and what motivates these characters is love. The story is basically about these two guys, Guts and Griffith, and Griffith betrayed Guts. It's kind of like the most basic bare bones of the story. Guts is chasing Griffith to try and get his revenge. But that is not what the story is about. It's more about how Guts runs from his grief. And the only reason he hates Griffith so much is because he loved him. What do you do when the person who you loved more than anyone is the one who has hurt you more than anyone? His quest for revenge against Griffith is just his own way of compartmentalizing and avoiding his own grief, and him trying to run from the reality that he has to deal with, which is that his life is never going to be the same as it was before. I love Guts and Casca. I'm just going to get that out of the way. I love Casca. She's the most beautiful woman in the world. She is one of the greatest female characters of all time. I say that with a lot of asterisks and nuances, but I love Casca. But this is a yaoi video, so I have to talk about the relationship between Griffith and Guts. Guts is someone who his entire life has been beaten down and believed that he is worthless, that he is cursed. I call him my son with every tragic backstory. You know, he was born from a corpse, and then his adoptive mother died when he was 3, and then his adoptive mercenary father never really loved him, and he sold him out to be raped when he was 9, and, you know, he just used him for money, and he loved him less than he loved a dog, and then, you know, one night his father tried to kill him, and Guts accidentally killed him in return, and, you know, the mercenary band turned against him, and now he only lives by his sword. And this is before, like, even the backstory part of Berserk starts, right? Like, he is my son with every tragic backstory, okay? He has never caught a single fucking break in his life. His entire life, it's only been survival. He's never wanted anything. He's only known how to act out in violence in order to survive. And when he meets Griffith, who is the young, prodigious leader of the Band of the Hawk Mercenary, he's somebody that everybody admires and almost worships on like a godlike status. And he is the first person to look at Guts and truly see value in him, even if his value is only to be used by Griffith. He says to him, "I want you." They didn't include this in the 97 anime, but it was in the manga and it was in the Golden Age movie, but he's like, "So what, are you gay?" And maybe. Griffith takes ownership of Guts, and Guts, for the first time in his life, feels valued and wanted by someone, and he feels that he belongs to something bigger than himself, but he still does not know how to live his life as anything other than an extension of a weapon. He decides that he wants to devote his life to Griffith, and, you know, he says, and he's like, "I don't know what else I can be, but I want to be his sword." And Griffith, in turn, trusts and relies on Guts in a way that he does not with anyone else. You know, he dives into danger time and time again to save Guts' life. Guts, who feels that his life has no value. Something very interesting, and this is in the yaoi of it all, but the relationship between Guts and Griffith directly mirrors the relationship between Casca and Griffith, where Casca is canonically and textually in love with Griffith, and she is jealous of Guts for the place that he holds in Griffith's heart. Her feelings towards Griffith very directly mirror Guts's, where she says to him, "If I can't be anything, I want to be his sword." Both Guts and Casca experience the same feelings of desire towards Griffith, but Guts is the only one who receives this acknowledgement in return. And Casca is jealous of this relationship. You know, she says, "Why is it you? Why is it you that earned this place in Griffith's heart? Why are you the one that made him change? Why does he look at you the way he doesn't look at anyone else?" And it's really good, man. It's really good. And even the relationship between Guts and Casca is built off of their mutual feelings for Griffith in the way that they are able to understand each other in almost their, you know, their unrequited love. Guts becomes Casca's ally and tries to kind of push her and Griffith together because they're both people that he's come to love and care for, and he cares about their happiness. It's, I love Berserk. Berserk is so fucking good, and you know why? You know why Berserk is so fucking good? Because Kentaro Miura read that yaoi, and he was like, "Wait a second, I can make my story about themes and characters and not just this guy with a sword killing demons. Wait, oh my god, I have ideas now." Definitely the queer coding of Berserk goes even deeper than this. That's the general overview of the implicit themes. And I gave Berserk a mixed review because between the 97 anime, the Golden Age movies, and the manga, both by Kentaro Miura and then taken over by, what's his name, Koji Mori, after Miura's death, it all has varying levels of quality. As my friend said, in the right hands, Berserk is a 10 out of 10 story. In the wrong hands, it's like a 3, right? So your mileage will vary. I say that if you want to get into Berserk and you want to test the waters, start with the 97 anime, and then if you like it, read the manga. Next on my list, which I did not watch all of it this year, but I watched like 20 episodes, but I have seen the entire series before, twice, because I love it. You might be like, what? Why the fuck is this in the implicit and not explicit? And it's because I'm only talking about the C-drama version. I didn't read the manhwa, or I own the books. I don't really fuck with them that much. I don't think they're very good, and I think the drama is better, even though it cannot be explicit with the gay content, but the untamed. Fuck. Oh my god. The untamed, or Modazushi as what is it? The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, right? I know that like this creator is really famous for like a lot of like danmei like novels, right, that were originally published online. I'm not well versed in this, okay? This is the only like C-drama or danmei that I've ever been like really into, and I watched it like back in like 2020 because I was like, I saw it on Netflix and I was like, oh, I heard this series is gay, right? So let me check it out. And so I started watching it, and I got like fucking 14 episodes in, and I was like enraptured, but I was like, wait a second, how long is this series? And it's fucking 50 episodes long, and they're all like an hour each. I was like, it was too late. I was into it. I was in it. And yeah, I've watched the entire thing twice, which I think is a testament to how good it is. I really love The Untamed as a drama. And even though it cannot be as explicit with the gay content because of Chinese censorship laws, and that, you know, like it is a professionally made production, even though it was like a net drama, like I think it was only on YouTube. Like, I just think it does a better job of being a textually queer story than the books do, even though the books have gay sex in them. You might be like, that's crazy. How can you get gayer than gay sex? Well, if you're a real yaoi head, you understand how gay sex cannot be gay. There is kind of like a trend in these types of stories where it will be like, oh, I'm not gay. Being gay is weird. I just love this one guy because he's my soulmate. And that's what the novel was like. I read like the first 2 novels. I have a few more. Oh god, like the fucking, I don't even know what to say. I think the novels are so bad. I don't understand how people like these. It's like, I'm gonna pretend to be crazy and gay, and I'll pretend to flirt with him, and he'll be grossed out because being gay is gross. Okay, but yeah, the Untamed, or the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, or Modazushi, whatever you want to call it, is the story of Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji, and it's technically like one of those reincarnation stories, but the way that the drama goes about it is in a much more like chronological fashion, where yeah, it starts at the part where Wei Wuxian comes back to life, where he is reincarnated in this like dark ritual to revive his spirit, but then it goes back to the beginning of the story, and you stay with the beginning of the story until you reach back to that point where he was brought back to life, right? So you really get to follow him from, you know, like his first life to his death to his subsequent reincarnation, and then the story picks up back from there. Versus like in the novels, it does the same thing where it starts with him being reincarnated, and then, you know, it tells the story a bit, and then it cuts back a bit, and then it tells the story a bit, and then it cuts back a bit, right? And you know, his past is like gradually like revealed to you, but I think that the way, once again, the way the novels do it are really contrived in the way that Wei Wuxian has amnesia, but specifically only relating to his relationship to Lan Wangji. He doesn't seem to have trouble remembering anything else. He just forgets that he was in love with him. Oops, sorry. Like, it's just so stupid. And dude, like, you fucking people like this shit. Like, I'm saying that I love bad yaoi. I'm sorry. If you love it, I'm sorry. I also love bad yaoi. I get it. The C drama it's like a work of art. You know, it had a budget of $30. But it's a work of art, you know, and it really like cares about the characters and not just the relationship between like Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji, but the relationship between like the families, and you know, it also gives a lot more for like the female characters to do, which I liked a lot. I'm still not really explaining what it's about, but basically it's about this guy, Wei Wuxian, and this guy Lan Wangji, and they meet when they're, you know, like 15, and they're very like at odds because Wei Wuxian is kind of like the cocky adopted child of this noble family who kind of lives freely and does what he wants, but like genuinely he is a really good person who lives very selflessly, and he cares a lot specifically like about like his siblings, like in his family, like he would do anything for them. And you know, Lan Wangji is this very like uptight second son of this other prominent clan. He also, you know, believes in morality and justice, but they have very like clashing ideals. Wei Wuxian, he's just genuinely like this really, really sweet, like friendly guy who's always trying to like buddy up to Lan Wangji, who's always like, ugh, don't touch me. They over time like grow closer as like allies and come to like understand each other's values. Wei Wuxian goes down this descent of like dark sorcery. Nobody cared about his dark sorcery when it benefited them and their war, but once he starts acting as a free agent and acting on his own sense of justice rather than what people in power want him to do, then he is branded as evil and corrupted in an enemy. There's this line, and it's so good, right? Where it's like, you know, when the whole world loved me, you were the only one who scolded me. And when the whole world despised me, you were the only one who believed in me. It's something like that. I can't quote it exactly. When he first started going down this road, Lan Wangji is the only one who is afraid for him and, you know, like his body and spirit and what these powers are doing to him. Then when he is branded as corrupt and an enemy, Lan Wangji is the only one who believes in him as a person and that all these things that people say about him are not true. When this eventually like culminates in, you know, like the whole world turning against him and basically like declaring war on him, Lan Wangji is once again the only one by his side. Like in the last moment, he's the only one by his side. To me, this is really good because in the show, when Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji meet again, it's been 15 years since he died, right? It's been 15 years since he died. He's brought back to life. Wei Wuxian is obviously afraid that in this time that he hasn't been here, that Lan Wangji has changed his mind, right? That he feels differently now. Now he agrees with everyone else that he is corrupt. But no, he is still there for him, and he never stopped believing in him, right? And it's so good. It's so good. And the way that they come to like trust each other and be there for each other, it's so good. It's so good. Right? He waited 15 years for him. Versus like in the novels, I think it's very cheapened by the fact that Wei Wuxian doesn't remember his relationship with Lan Wangji. And so, you know, when they come back together, it's just like a lot of like awkward misunderstanding and corny fan service moments where it's like, oh, he thinks he's flirting seriously, but he's flirting as a joke, because obviously who would ever actually be gay? Being gay is gross. And this brings me to like how the drama, I feel, makes better efforts to be a textually queer story than the books, because the drama very intentionally writes Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji as queer. And they do this by like kind of like moving around some scenes from the novels and like recontextualizing them and adding like additional context to like other scenes. So they didn't even have to change a lot. They just removed all the parts that were like, I'm not gay, being gay is weird. And instead they did things like, you know, when they're younger, you know, like Wei Wuxian is the kind of person who has a lot of friends and draws a lot of people to him, versus Lan Wangji is very like isolated from his peers. And they very intentionally add this subtext about, well, part of the reason Lan Wangji is so isolated from his peers is because he's gay, because he likes other boys and he doesn't really know how to deal with these feelings. Like there's this really good scene where Wei Wuxian is like drinking with his friends and Lan Wangji comes in to bust him, and Wei Wuxian makes him drink with them, so it's like, oh, now you're in trouble too, right? Ha ha ha, you can't bust us. They have this conversation, you know, Wei Wuxian's like telling him like, oh, you know, like you're so strict, like you'll never find a wife, and Lan Wangji's just like, that's okay with me. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's very clear that like he knows that he's not into women, right? He knows that he likes boys, and because of that, it's hard for him to get close to his peers. And he's always very like, because like I said, we was saying he's this really friendly guy, right? And so he's always like coming up, put his arm around him, and he's like, ugh, ugh. And instead of that just being a reading of like his character of like, oh, he's the really uptight one, it more reads as like he's uncomfortable with physical intimacy between him and other boys because of his attraction to them. And it's the same thing with like Wei Wuxian, where he is very intentionally written as like bisexual. There's this one character, what's his name? I always call him Evil Wei Wuxian because all the characters in the story are like color coded, and he has the same color coding as Wei Wuxian, but his Shui Yang, I think his name is. There's this part where they've like captured him and Wei Wuxian's like patting him down. He's like, oh, you don't want to do that. You're going to get a reputation, right? Basically trying to say, like, huh, people are going to think you're gay if you touch me like that. And Wei Wuxian is like, I think you'll find my reputation precedes me. And it's like, bitch, people know that I'm bisexual. And also another really cute thing in the way that they've added context to write these characters as, like, intentionally queer. I think it's the first time that Wei Wuxian like goes home, but you see like his childhood bed, and he's carved this like little drawing from when he was a kid, obviously, from when he was a kid of like two boys kissing. It's so cute. But I love The Untamed. I give it a 10 out of 10. The books are like a 4 out of 10. I'm sorry. Next one I think is gonna be short because honestly there's not that much yaoi in it, okay? But the next one in my implicit themes category is the Iliad, you know, the epic poem by Homer. Clearly, you know, the subtextual yaoi people have been arguing about for like, how old is the Iliad? Like 2,000 years? Is obviously Achilles and Patroclus. Because the Iliad is only a fragment of a much larger poem, and we don't have the other parts of it. We don't have the other parts. It's so fucking sad. We don't have sad. It's whatever. We don't have the other parts of the epic poem, but we know that the scholars were debating over the love between Achilles and Patroclus, and also who topped and who bottomed. That was very controversial. They don't actually appear that much. Of course, you know, the Iliad goes over like the murder of Patroclus, you know, like dressed in Achilles' armor, and then, you know, Achilles' subsequent grief and his own death. The one thing that I think about when I think about the relationship between them in the poem is like, oh, like I didn't realize like how true the book Song of Achilles was like to the mythology, right? Because obviously when you're adapting mythology for a modern audience, you want to humanize the characters because we had very, very different moral standards back when these stories were first told. So things like rape and pillaging and murder and all that, it's all great. In the Song of Achilles novel, which is, I can't remember the name of the author at the moment. Also really good if you like yaoi, you should read Song of Achilles. It was good. It was really good. They make Patroclus out to be this very like gentle, soft-hearted man. And I thought, you know, this must be a modern invention of the author to get people to empathize with Patroclus. But then reading the poem, it's like, actually no, like Patroclus generally was a gentle and kind soul who, like, everybody mourned. In this time of war where, like, women are taken as prizes to be done with whatever you will, like, Patroclus genuinely was like a fucking like defender of women. So he was like a feminist of the time. He was kind of an icon, honestly. Like reading it, I was like, oh wait, so like this was real. Like he really was like this. This was the way that his character was portrayed all those fucking like 2,000 years ago, right? So, you know, that's good on him, right? You know, he's really good. He's positive queer representation, guys. We love Patroclus. He's the unproblematic fave. Everybody stop standing Odysseus right now, okay? Everybody go stand Patroclus if you're gonna stand a character from one of Homer's poems. Last in my implicit themes category, and I really debated putting this on here because like I said, implicit themes can't just be, I saw this and I thought that these two guys should kiss, okay? It has to be authorial intent. I was really like humming and hawing, but I did decide to put Newsies, specifically the 1992 movie, on this list. Though I did consume basically all versions of Newsies this year. I started the year by reading the novelization, also really gay. Then in like May, I went and saw there was a live production at my local theater, and I went and saw it, and that kind of made me go crazy, and I started watching movies again. I even fucking rewatched all of Doogie Howser because I'm a Newsies head, okay? I've been obsessed with Newsies since I was like 14, and you might be like, what? So like 4 years ago? No. That was 14 years ago. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so fucking old. I'm so fucking old. Ah, fuck, it was 14 years ago, guys. It was 14 years ago. What was I talking about? So I went a little bit crazy over Newsies this year, but I decided to put specifically the movie in the implicit themes category because the director, Kenny Ortega, who you may know from High School Musical or Descendants fame, he is a gay man. I was reading an article about queer themes in his works, and he basically said, you know, there are queers in my stories for those with beautiful eyes to see them. And my man, I have the beautiful eyes to see the gay love between Jack and David in Newsies. Even though Jack does end up kissing David's sister at the end of this movie, we all know that was a beard situation. It was 1899, okay? Things were different. But like, oh my god, like, yeah, Jack and David are gay as fuck. They are gay as fuck. They're so fucking gay. Like, oh my god, like, David Moscow. I should see if I can get into Newsies Con this year and ask him about like the 10 levels of gay yearning he put into his performance as David for Jack. I don't even know what to say. It's only like a 2-hour movie. Watch it. They're gay. They're gay. Jesus Christ. Okay, that's one category down. My next category is yaoi normal. So this is like yaoi, right? Like this is, it's not all like just Japanese like manga or anime, okay? I put anything that actually has two guys making out or fucking each other in this category, but they're normal. Anybody who kind of likes yaoi can enjoy these titles, right? Like this is still normie core yaoi. And if you're a real yaoi fan, you know what I mean. You know what I mean, okay? We have a separate category for the other stuff. The first entry on my list is a manga that I first read when I was like 19. And even though it's from, I think like 96 or 97, it was not fully translated until like a few years ago. And so I finally sat down and read the whole thing, start to finish. This is Komata Toki ni wa Hoshi ni Kike, which is, I don't remember what the title means. It's something like when you're lost, ask the stars for help. It's nothing to do with the story. It's also called Komohoshi, which I'll probably refer to it as because the title is really fucking long. But it's a pretty like obscure, like niche manga, though it is by like a pretty prolific like BL author. She also wrote, I think Super Lovers is the one she wrote, but I'm not, that was not for me. I really like this story. I remember reading it when I was like 19, and every chapter I read left me pleasantly surprised with how it was not weird or gross. And I don't mean it's weird or gross in the way like, ooh, guys who are into each other are sinful. Like, no, you know what I mean, right? Like, if you're into yaoi, you see some deplorable shit, okay? There are just certain things that are very common within the genre. Sexual assault, dubious consent, problematic age gaps, things like that. Komahoshi is a very surprisingly normal and wholesome story about two high school boys. It starts when they're 15 in their first year of high school. They're living in a dorm together, and at first they're very at odds, but over time they become friends. And it's a really long series. It's like 27 volumes, which is like, I can't remember how many chapters this is. It's like 120 chapters or something. It's really long. It has really, really good emotional depth. Like, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. There's a lot of things that kind of like go nowhere and run into dead ends. I think this is very common of like old manga where for some reason they were just publishing whatever. It is a very genuinely interesting story. It's about these two boys, Takara and Kiyomine, and they're both, like I said, they're roommates at this boys' dorm at this kind of upper scale high school. I really like them because the story is more about how they are the same than they are opposites. This is especially, I think, really common in like yaoi stories where they want to pose the men as, or boys in this case, as opposing factors of each other. Like, this is the boy that's quiet and submissive and gentle and soft, and this is the boy that's big and strong and dominating. This story does not have that. It might appear that way on its surface level, where Takara is this very short, cute boy, and, you know, Kiyomine is this very tall guy who seems a lot like more like mature than he is. But the story is more about how they are the same than they are different. Like, they are both very hot-headed. They're always getting into fights, not just with each other, but with other people. And I mean like physical fights. They're like beating the shit out of people. Like, they're troublemakers. So they're very hot-headed and impulsive. They're both very close to the certain members of their family and are very like protective of them. But mostly the thing that makes them similar is that they're both lonely and they both very much want to be loved, and they're scared of losing people. They have this very close bond that they form where they're very, very attached to each other and they don't want to lose the other person. I really like Takara and Kiyomine. Like, I think they are such good characters. I especially really like Takara because he is kind of the conventional, like, oh, he's short and cute and people think he's a girl. But they actually say interesting things about his relationship to masculinity through his character. Like, he's actually very insecure about the fact that people do not see him as masculine. He tries to overcompensate for it by having this very tough personality, and, you know, like, he tries not to be emotional or vulnerable or cry in front of people because he's like, well, I need to be a man. He did this like 5 fucking times, but it never didn't make me smile, no matter how many times I did it, because there's always that situation in yaoi where it's like, oh, the small petite guy is being sexually harassed, and then the seme has to come in and save him. There were plenty of times where people harassed Takara or tried to attack him or tried to take advantage of him, but what I love is that Kiyomine never saved him. Takara was always able to save himself. It could be like fucking like 6 guys like trying to kidnap him and he beat their asses. No matter how many times it happened, it never didn't make me smile, because it's like, yes, like, I love a short king who's like able to defend himself, and I like that in his personality. It's like, yeah, he does have these elements where like he is kind of emotional and vulnerable, but Takara is a boy, right? And he's written as a boy, and he is a very masculine character. In like the translation I read, they included like the popularity polls, and fucking Takara absolutely swept. People loved him, right? They loved him, and all the comments were like, he's so cute, but he's so manly. He's so insecure about his masculinity, but he's so manly, right? And this is in the story itself. Like, there's this one chapter where he's like, I want to become more masculine. I want to become more masculine. So he tries to do things like, you know, like drink black coffee or whatever. And everyone's like, dude, you don't need to do that. You're already pretty fucking masculine, right? Like nobody sees you as girly. Like you might be cute, but you're not feminine, like in your personality. And I like that, right? Like I like when boys are written as boys rather than trying to make yaoi some sort of simulacrum of heterosexual relationships. And this is even talked about in the story where it's like Takara and Kiyomine have this relationship because they are both boys. It's not in spite of the fact they're both boys. It's not like, oh, but it's like a boyfriend and girlfriend. It's like, no, they're both boys. I really like this series. Kiyomine is a really good character too. And some things I like are the fact that both of the main characters, their families are very important to them, but they're in these kind of like atypical, like non-nuclear family situations, which I always appreciate representation of. Takara, his mother passed away when he was young. He was mostly raised by his grandparents. His grandparents recently passed away, and now, you know, like his father, he works for National Geographic, which I think is actually really interesting. He's a photographer for National Geographic, and there's even several chapters actually where they go to, I think it was Kenya. And it was really interesting because you could tell the mangaka was like really, really into it. And she even went to a trip there, like in real life as like a work research trip. But he has a very complicated relationship with his father where it's like he loves him, but he also does resent him for abandoning him. And Kiyomine also has like an atypical relationship with his family where he has two older siblings who are much older than him. Like I think his older sister is like 12 or 15 years older than him. No, she must be like 12 years older than him because I think she's like 28 when he's like 15. He's their half-brother, their younger half-brother from their mother's second marriage, and they have like this very like atypical family dynamic where, you know, his older sister is more of a mother to him than anyone else in his family, and he's very loyal to her and he loves her. I also like that there's lots of girl characters in this story that don't just exist as like, there's no girl character that is like, oh, like a rival or alternate love interest or a girl that's trying to get in between the yaoi boys. Like this doesn't exist. Takara has like two childhood friends that are both girls, and you know they're his friends. One of them does have feelings for him, but nothing ever really like comes of that. And then there's like a girl that Kiyomine knew in middle school who becomes their friend. And it's like, honestly, it's just a really good series. It's like I said, it's not perfect, but I'm really attached to it. And I gave it an 8 out of 10 because I really like this manga. It's really good. Next one is Stranger by the Sea, which I didn't read the manga, so I don't know if the manga is different. I only watched the movie, and I have to say, it was just okay. The animation was really good. The animation was really good. It was a really pretty movie. It had like concepts that I like, but I think I have to say, like, overall, I just didn't really get it. I like the idea that this boy meets another boy like while he's in like a state of grief, right? Where they're both like younger. Don't ask me what the characters' names are. I don't fucking remember. I just watched this once the other day. He meets him when he's in like a state of grief, and then they go away and they come back together, but this guy is now in like a much better point in his life, but he remembers how the other boy was there for him when he was going through a really difficult time, but now it's the other boy that's going through a difficult time. And he's the one who's very distant and holding himself like apart from him. I have to say, like, the thing I don't get is that, like, I don't really understand why the other boy was going through a difficult time and like why he was suddenly like acting so coldly towards the other boy. And there was just like all these different elements that like I didn't really understand. Like the one boy, the blonde boy, was like disowned by his parents for being gay, but he had this arranged marriage with a childhood friend. But I think the story takes place in like Okinawa, and he's like living in this like an inn. He's living in like this inn with this old woman, and originally I thought it was like his grandma, and there's this other girl living there who I think is also supposed to be gay, and I thought they were like brother and sister, and I was like, wait, no, they're not. And I'm like, is this just like an old woman who takes in homeless gay children? Like, I don't know. It was really unclear. I didn't really understand like the relationships between the characters. And I didn't really understand why things were happening when they were happening, right? I didn't get it. I really did not get it. I thought the intimacy between them was well done. Like, something I appreciate is like, you know, like when they kiss for the first time, they go back to this hotel, which is like, I don't fucking know why they went to this hotel together. If he didn't want to have sex with him, but they went to like what was very obviously like a fucking love hotel, and the one guy's like, I want to have sex with you, and he's like, it's not something you can do just so suddenly like that, which is like, you know, I gotta give it to them for representation. It's not just so easy to fuck a guy in the ass. There's things that go into it, you know? Like, they don't got lube, they don't got condoms. He didn't clean his butthole, right? Like, he's just like, no, we can't have sex right now. When they do actually have sex, he's like, come on, man. Like, I took a bath. Like, I wanted to do this. I already fingered my own asshole. Like, let's go. Like let's go. I'm ready, right? It's not, like, super explicit, but it's cute. It's fine. It's good. If you just want to see, like, two guys kissing, honestly, there's not that much of it, but it's fine. It's fine. The story is just kind of confusing. I didn't really get it. I give it a 6 out of 10 because it does have, it's fine. It's fine. I didn't hate it. I just didn't really get it. Next on the list, which I can't help but compare to the previous title because they both have the exact same runtime of 59 minutes, is Dokusei, or Classmates, which I also did not watch or read for the first time this year. I watched it for the first time many years ago. I think I was like 17 or something like that. But I love this movie. This is my favorite movie. The first time I watched it twice. It was so good. It has just this very beautiful, gentle atmosphere. The sound design, the voice acting. Oh my god. Kusakabe's voice acting is like my favorite performance in probably any anime, anything ever. I love his performance. He's just so good and so natural. He's so cute and so funny. This is, once again, it's a very just normal story about two boys who are classmates and fall in love. And one of the things, because it's like, you might be like, what are you talking about when I say this? But I'm not a big fan of love stories. You'd be like, bro, you're literally making a yaoi list. I know, okay? But I'm not a big fan of love stories. I'm just not. I like to explore relationships between characters, okay? I don't like when we waste time pussyfooting around shit. I hate it when it's like, oh, we spend fucking 600 chapters yearning together where we're just not communicating our feelings and then it ends with them getting together. It's like, that's not a relationship. Like, show me an actual relationship between two characters. I like this story because they get together within the first 10 minutes of the story. And then the story is about their relationship as boyfriends and the way that they grow closer to each other. And it's just a very cute, very like natural, like organic. It has these large jumps in times, but the moments we see are very slow paced. They're very intimate and the characters are so cute. They have such a good relationship. I love this movie. I can't remember because what I'll do is I'll watch the movie and then I'll read the manga that follows it. So like Sotsugyousei. So it's like the movie is like from like, I think it's like first year to second year. And then in the manga, it's them in third year. So when they're graduating, or maybe the movie's second year to third year. And then it's Sotsugyousei. It's kind of like that last half of their third year that the movie didn't cover. Everybody watch Dokusei. If you haven't watched Dokusei, and you're a Fujo, what the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you? Go watch it! What the fuck is wrong with you? So, like I said, after Dokusei, there's Sotsugyousei, which follows them into when they're graduating, and Sajo goes into university, and Kusakabe, he's trying to pursue his career as like a musician. And then there is Occupation Beloved, I think it's called, which is an anthology series that the mangaka has of like a bunch of different yaoi series. Honestly, this really breaks my heart. I don't like anything else this author has written. All of it is like weird, like age gap shit. And it's like, it's so funny. It's like every yaoi mangaka got one normal story in them. They got one normal story about boys who love each other. And the rest of it is like grooming and rape and toxic age gaps. But like, whatever, you know. Do what you're gonna do, I just don't like it. But Occupation Beloved, and it follows like the first like year where they're like in this like long distance relationship. And I've read those fucking to hell and back. I've read them so many times. I cannot tell you how many times I've read Sotsugyousei plus Occupation Beloved. all the time, man. I'm crazy about it. And I only realized this year that she wrote 2 other stories, Blanc and Home. So Blanc is about Sajo and Kusakabe getting married. It's like, I think it's like 5 or 6 chapters, and then Home, I think, was only like 1 or 2 chapters about them getting their first home together. And like, they're really good. They made me really happy. They were kind of hard to find, and I think some of the chapters I read were sort of like out of order. At the end of Sotogyose, right, like Sajo and Kusakabe agree to live apart because they both want to like pursue their prospective dreams and like live their own lives, which I think is really responsible because they've only just graduated. They're like 17 years old. Sajo's gonna go to university. Kusakabe is gonna continue to work and pursue his career as a musician. Kusakabe tells him, you know, like, when we turn 20, marry me, right? And Sajo agrees to it. And so there's this really cute comic where it's like when they're both 20, they both get rings to it for each other to surprise each other. It's so cute. And they're both like finding out ways to like secretly like take each other's like ring size. Like, I think it was like Kusakabe like makes him like Sajo like dinner with wine, and Sajo's like, oh, but wine makes me sleepy, but okay. And then like Sajo's like, oh, do you want to go see a movie? And Kusakabe's like, movies make me fall asleep, but okay. And so they take each other's ring size and they both surprise each other with rings. It's so cute. I've only read these each once, but Blanc, you know, once this, they've agreed to marry each other. They've given each other these rings, and they both have like double rings. It's so cute. It's so cute. Sajo starts to kind of get cold feet because he's thinking, like, realistically, because gay marriage is not legal in Japan, like there's no way for them to go through with this and live normal lives. And you know, Sajo is like, you know, like, I'm gay. I've always known that I'm gay, but I don't know if Kusakabe is. And I know that they talked about this a little bit in Occupation Beloved, where, you know, Sajo says that he worries that he made Kusakabe gay, and it's because of him that he's not able to live a normal life with, you know, like a wife and children and things like that. So he kind of gets cold feet, and he calls off the wedding, and they get into this huge fight, but they ultimately like come back together. Something else that happens in this story, so in Sotsugyose, and I really love this part, Sajo's mother is diagnosed with cancer, and because his father works overseas in, I believe, Korea, he's having to like take up all the responsibility, both of like taking care of the home and taking care of his mother at the hospital and dealing with all these doctors and appointments and making sure she has everything she needs, while also taking care of the home and also going to school. I love this part because I went through something very, very similar to this in my life, where it's like my mom was in the hospital for several months and it was just me at home and I had to do everything. I really, really love the way they wrote this part of the story, because at first, like, Kusakabe is like, oh, what can I do? What can I do, right? And Sajo's just like, I don't need anything else to fucking deal with right now. And Kusakabe is just immediately like, yeah, you know, you're right. I was only thinking about my own feelings, which is so real, because like when you're going through that, everyone's like, what can I do? What can I do? And it's like, I want to not deal with this right now, because they're not really thinking about what they can do for you. They are feeling helpless in the situation and they want to feel useful. Sometimes letting other people help you is more about making them feel good about themselves than it is about what you actually need. And so I thought like Kusakabe's respect for Sajo in this situation was just so good, so well written. Kusakabe is my favorite, if you can't tell. I love Kusakabe so much. So eventually what Kusakabe is able to do for Sajo is to be there for him and let him cry. But you know, like, there's this really sweet part where Kusakabe, because he's really into music, he gets Sajo like a gift to give to his mother. He gave her a CD from like an old band, and he was like, yeah, can you give this to your mom? I don't know, I just think she might like it. Sajo's mom immediately is like, oh, like, you wouldn't get this for me, like, you don't have this kind of taste. And she's like, do you have a girlfriend? And Sajo tells her, you know, it's a boy. Sajo brings in Kusakabe to meet his mom, and it's really sweet. It's also really cute because you know, Sajo and Kusakabe like call each other by their last names for most of the story, right? It isn't until Sajo's like living in Kyoto that they start calling each other by their first names. They've been together for like 3 years at this point. But it's really cute because it's like Kusakabe talks to Sajo's mom sometimes and he calls her Kumi, and he's like, what the fuck, why does she get to be Kumi and I'm Sajo? And he's like, well, you can't both be Sajo, so she's Kumi, right? It's really cute. But what happens in this story in Blanc is that Sajo's mother relapses and she ends up passing away. And Kusakabe, who, mind you, had a relationship with Sajo's mother, helped him take care of her, especially this second time around because he was in Kyoto. So a lot of it was Kusakabe coming to the hospital and taking care of her and dealing with all these things, right? You know, like helping take on this burden as a member of his family, right? As the person he wants to be with. When he finds out that Kumi dies, you know, Hikaru or Kusakabe comes to the hospital and, he's trying to be there for Sajo, trying to talk to him. He's getting really upset because he cared about Kumi, and Sajo's father is there for the fucking first time, and he's like, who the hell is this guy? What is he doing here? Right? And Sajo tells him, like, he's my fiance, okay? He's a member of my fucking family, and he's been here for me, and he's been here for my mom, unlike you. And they get into this huge fight where, like, he's calling them both slurs, he disowns Sajo, and, like, all this shit, right? Like, it's really sad. It's really sad. It feels real. Sajo and Kusakabe end up going through with it. They get married. Kusakabe does send an invitation to Sajo's father, and he doesn't show up to the actual ceremony, but he does show up, right? And they just kind of have like this moment of like, okay, right? Like it's okay, right? You know, like we're a family now, right? Like it's not necessarily like a reconciliation, but it's an acceptance, which I thought was good. And I'm telling you about this because this is going to play into something I'll tell you about later. Home was really good. It was really short. It's just Kusakabe finding an apartment, and Sajo is like busy at work, and so he's like doing everything himself, and like they have no furniture, and so he sets up like this little fort on the ground, and they fall asleep there together. It's so cute. It's really, really cute. It's so good. I love this series. If you are a Fujo and you are not into Dokusei and all its subsequent manga, I don't even know what the fuck you're doing, man. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. Get out of here. Go read it now. Next two, I'm gonna try and go through these really quick because they're only like 25 minutes each. They're short web series. They're in a genre I haven't delved into before, but the Aini, like Korean anime, and I guess they were based off of like, I'm assuming webtoons. Minyoung and Hyperventilation, which is like Minyoung. I had actually read about it before and I was like, I'm not into it. And then it was like, well, it's explicit. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll give it a chance. But I was actually surprised by like, yeah, the last episode is like a 4-minute gay sex scene, but I was actually surprised by how like restrained it was. Like it seemed to take its own story really seriously, which I kind of admire, even if I thought the story was a little bit silly. But this is about this guy, Minyoung, and he's like a underground boxer, and there's this doctor who works for the underground boxing ring. I don't even fucking know his name. He just called him Doc. I think he has a name, but I don't know what it is. Minyoung is in love with this doctor because he's the only one who's ever been kind to him and has touched him with like a gentle hand, whatever, some corny shit. And it turns out the doctor is a vampire, which I'm like, okay, whatever, sure. And so Mignon is like, no, like I'm gonna keep your secret. I just want a relationship to go back to the way it was, right? And it's okay. It's cute. It's good for what it is, actually. Like I gave it a 6 because, it surprisingly takes itself very seriously, as really good animation. I don't really like the art style, like the design of the characters. It's just, I don't know, it's just very like, it's very like early 2000s yaoi. Like it has the anatomy of like Junjo Romantica, which is like, you know what I'm talking about. But it was cute and it surprisingly takes itself pretty seriously. The set design and the color design was really, really good. I really loved the environments, actually, and it did have good animation. So yeah, like a 6 out of 10. It's fine. Go watch it. You get to see two guys fucking and kissing, and it's pretty good. Hyperventilation, which is a similar thing. It's a Korean anime based off, I'm assuming, a webtoon, and it's very short, like 24 minutes, and it's just about these two boys who knew each other in high school, and one of them has like a hole in his lung, and the other was like the class representative, and they had this sort of like, a bit of like a yearning for each other when they were in high school that never came to fruition, but they meet each other at a high school reunion. I think it's 10 years later. And, you know, they start like hooking up. But then the one guy, the guy with the hole in his lung, thinks that the other guy is married and he gets upset. And then he's like, no, I'm not married. Haha. And there's just a lot of gay sex in it, in Making Out. So if you like gay sex and making out, go check it out. There is not that much to say about it. Conversely, the next entry on my list, I have too much to say about. It would require an entire other video for me to say all my thoughts and feelings about this. I will say, as a Canadian, it offended me. As a Fujo, it delighted me. As a writer, it made me roll my fucking eyes. Okay? It's heated rivalry, baby. And I'm just gonna be flat out. I gave this series a 6 out of 10, which might be really controversial if you think this is a masterpiece. I'm just gonna be real. This is a story based off a book, based off of fan fiction, and it has fan fiction level writing, which means there's no plot, there's no characters, but they're having gay sex like crazy. And if you love gay sex, you're gonna love this show. But I'm just gonna be real. This was advertised to me as a gay hockey rivalry. They do not play hockey in this show. There's no fucking hockey in this show. They never played hockey in this show. There's a few kind of token scenes of them skating across the ice. There's no actual hockey game in this entire show. There's no hockey in this show. And these characters are not rivals. They're not rivals. They're not. They've never, ever been mean to each other. They don't dislike each other from the very, very beginning. They have nothing but nice and pleasant interactions, and they have gentle, tender, romantic sex. So if you think this is gonna be a heated rivalry, it's not. It's not, okay? It's not, but you know what? That's okay. Within 19 minutes of the first episode, they're sucking each other's cocks, and the Russian guy has an ass so fat, I can't even describe to you how fat it is. You just have to watch. You just have to watch. The gay sex scenes go crazy, like the lighting, the music, and they are very intimate. They're not kinky, they're not perverted, but they're very intimate. So if you're into gentle, intimate sex with lots of kissing, yeah. There's only one episode that doesn't have gay sex in it. If you just want to see two men have sex, two beautiful men kiss each other with tongue and suck on each other's fingers and suck each other off and rim each other and fuck each other in the ass, then yes, absolutely watch this show. If you want a hockey rivalry story, you're going to be just as mad as I was, okay? But that's okay. Just watch it for the 20 minutes of basically explicit gay sex every single episode. Okay? That's more than enough. That's all I can ask for. And you might be like, what? This show was beautiful. It changed my life. It was so good. Well, I'm so happy for you and your bad media literacy skills. I'm really happy for you, man. I'm really happy that you were able to enjoy this. But it's not good. But I have seen it 4 times over. So, yeah. 6 out of 10, heated rivalry. Go watch it. Anyway, next on the list is Interview with the Vampire. And I'm talking about the TV show in this, but I did read the book, but they're so different. I'm just gonna talk about the TV show. But this was really fucking good. Like, especially as an adaptation, it was a beautiful piece of work because I am someone who believes in the art of adaptation. If you tell me like, oh, this thing was such a good adaptation, like if you tell me this anime is so good, it's just the manga panel for panel, that sounds like a bad fucking anime adaptation to me, okay? A manga is a comic. It's a completely different art form. And anime should be different. That's why I thought The Summer Hikaru Died was so good. And in terms of Interview with a Vampire, as an adaptation, oh my god, it's so good. They turned Louis from the worst character to the best character. In Interview with a Vampire, being a vampire is a metaphor for being in an abusive relationship. This idea that you're stuck with this person, and no matter how much you hate each other, you have to stay together because the prospect of loneliness is just too much to bear. To be alone in this world, you'd rather be with someone you hate. This show went very hard into that theme, and they actually portray the relationship between Louis and Lestat as a emotionally and domestically abusive relationship, which I really respect. The thing is too, is like you watch it and like you get it, right? Like you get why Louis falls for Lestat. That, you know, he's had to struggle and struggle and struggle to be this person, to be all these things that people need. And for Lestat to just come and say, like, I see you and I embrace you and I accept you for what you are, no matter what that is, I get it, man. And it's a very, like, heartbreaking and, like, emotional story. I did not like the way that it ended because they tried to, and this is spoilers, but they tried to pull, like, a mutual abuse Deus Ex Machina. Like I said, the book and the show are very, very different. And the way that they kind of reconcile this, I think is very interesting. And the way that they had like the original interview that Louis gave in like, I think it was the 70s or the 80s. And that was kind of the book version of the interview, right? Where all he talks about is how much he hates Lestat, how he's so crass and lower and he can't stand being with him. And then he comes back, you know, however many years later and it's like, okay, I want to tell my story again, but I'm going to tell the honest version. And he tells a more nuanced version of his relationship with Lestat, where it's like, no, we did love each other. There was intimacy. There was a time where I thought he was my soulmate. And I thought that this was very, very interesting. But they then pull this kind of idea of like, Louis is an unreliable narrator and he has a bias in his interpretation against Lestat and tries to say that actually the abuse was mutual. And yeah, you know, Lestat might have dropped him from 300 feet in the air and broken every fucking bone in his body, but you know, Louis provoked him. And yeah, maybe Lestat was a bad partner sometimes, but you know what? So was Louis, because he was just so fucking depressed all the time. It made it really difficult for Lestat to be with him. And also the idea that making Claudia, who is, you know, their vampire daughter, who is trapped in the body of a child, and because of that, just did not have a good life, and you know her existence was against the vampire code, even though she's played by an adult woman in this story. In the books, Claudia was 5. In the movie, she had an amazing performance by the 10-year-old Kirsten Dunst, just absolutely phenomenal. But in this, she's played by 2 different adult women, and so I just have a really hard time believing that she struggles so much because she'll never fit into adult society, when it's like you're literally an adult woman. You're not even a short adult woman. The woman who plays her is like 5'4". That's how tall I am. That's an average height for women. Okay, anyway, sorry, I got off track. They made it seem that like, oh, Lestat really didn't want to turn Claudia into a vampire, but Louis begged him and begged him and begged him, and he really didn't want to do it, but Louis is just so manipulative. The season 2 ends with kind of Louis and Lestat reconciling, and it's basically like, oh, he abused me, but also the guy I was with was worse to me, so I guess that makes what Lestat did okay. And also, I was really hard to deal with, so it's actually kind of my fault that I got abused, if I think about it. That was not cool. I did not appreciate that. As a story that I'm trying to consume on like a serious level, I did not fucking appreciate that. But aside aside from that, I do really love the relationship between Louis and Lestat. It's very, very complicated, very, very messy. If you love Toxic Yaoi, the Interview with a Vampire TV series, so good. I gave this a 9 out of 10. It was really, really good. Next, I have the dirge of gay novels I read this year. First off being Swords Point, which once again, I did not read for the first time this year. There's a lot of repeat offenders on this list, guys, okay? When I love something, I consume it over and over again. And this is a book I have deadass read 15 times, probably more. I reread it at least once a year. It's Swords Point by Ellen Kushner, which is the 1987 novel about a swordsman named Richard in this fantasy city where the nobles have this thing called the privilege of the sword where they can challenge other nobility in duels of honor. It is mostly like fallen out of practice as like a genuine like thing and is mostly now a spectacle sport, and they get proxy swordsmen to fight these duels for them. And Richard St. Vier is the most famous swordsman in this city, and he's the best swordsman. He's never lost. But the only reason this is the case is because he's not chasing the fame or the money. He's just really fucked up in the head, and he loves killing people. He's so good at it. All he cares about is the sword. And the thing that he's chasing is to die by the sword of someone who is more skilled than him. That is the greatest thrill in the world. And his lover, Alec, is this mysterious young man who's mean and rude and homeless. And Richard is like, ooh, I like him. And they live in this place called Riverside, which is like these old abandoned townhouses that belonged to the nobility. Before the destruction of the monarchy, all the nobles left these houses and moved up to the hill, and all the rabble-rousers came and moved in and gutted all these, beautiful mansions. And you can tell I have a lot of affection for this book. It's just so full of character. And it is so, so good. I love Richard. I love Alec. And it's such a good story. When I read this story, I felt someone looked into my fucking mind and pulled forth the very story I've spent my entire life wanting to read. All like the political drama and intrigue and characters that are just so fucked up in the head and so off the walls insane. And something that I really love about this book is that it was published in 1987, and it does not advertise itself as gay. You don't actually know that Richard and Alec are lovers until chapter 8, when they start having gay sex with each other. Before that, they just referred to it's like, oh, his friend, his roommate. They were roommates, guys. His companion. And you're kind of like, is something going on here? Is something going on here? But if you're like me, you've been led astray, you've been gay baited your whole life, and you don't believe anything until one man's tongue is in another man's mouth, okay? And even then, there might be some doubt. I discovered this book years ago when I was trying to remember the name of my favorite choose your own adventure novel. I found it on Goodreads. I found the other books the author had written, and I found the reviews of this book. And all the reviews were terrible. They were terrible. They were like 1 star, 2 stars. They were like, everyone in this book is a horrible person. I remember, this book sucks. It's just about a bunch of evil homosexuals killing each other. And I went, Promise? And by God, did they deliver. This book is so good. It has a really, really, really good audiobook adaptation where it's read by the author, and she had like this radio show that she hosted for years, so she's an amazing orator, and she has this such fun, like playful, like tone and nuance that she reads the characters with, and like these little like quirks and like mannerisms of their speech, and there's parts that are fully voice acted. It has sound effects, it has music. Oh my God, this book changed my fucking life. It's so good. And then in the second book, this isn't on my list because I didn't read it this year, but in the second book, which is about Alex's niece, and it takes place like 15 years or something after the first book. They're in their divorced era, and oh boy, is it messy. It's so messy, guys. I love it so much. I love this book. 10 out of 10. No notes. Perfect book. Go read it. Go read it right now. Go listen to the audiobook specifically. You will not regret it. It's so good. So next two books are both by the author Sonora Reyes. I did a young adult in library class this summer, so I had to make like a young adult readers list, and so I read a bunch of books. So that's where a lot of these books came from. And I read their book, The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. That was such a good book. That was such a good book. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. It made me fucking cry my eyes out. But like I said, it's The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School, so we're not talking about that right now, unfortunately. We're talking about The Golden Boy's Guide to Bipolar, which was the sequel about her brother Cesar, who is a character in the first book who deals with bipolar disorder. And this was a good book. To me, it was not as good as The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. That book just, it hits so hard. Like the relationships between especially the relationships between the main character Yami and her brother Cesar, the way it was written in that book was so good. It was so good. And their relationship with their mother and all of this stuff and the relationship with their father. But this book kind of follows this, it's the subsequent fallout of all those things. So we don't get to go into those nuances as much. It's basically this boy, Cesar, he's kind of like the golden boy of his family. He's very intelligent. He's the kind of person who is like, everything comes effortless to him, but he really has been struggling with emotional regulation, and he goes to this Catholic school and he deals a lot with religious trauma and internalized homophobia. And so in the events of the first book, he broke up with his long-term boyfriend because he couldn't convince himself it wasn't a sin. This book follows him through a series of bipolar breakdowns where he destroys his relationships with everyone he loves. He gets kicked out of his house. He flunks out of school. He just tries to drive everyone away from him so he can die without being mourned, but it doesn't work, and the people in his life still love him. They'll still always be there for him, and he does eventually reconcile with his boyfriend, and they get back together, and they have a really cute relationship. I really love his boyfriend. I can't remember his name right now. But they do have a really sweet relationship. It's not really a love story, if that's what you're looking for. It is more a book about mental health and coming of age, but I put it on here because technically it has Yaoi in it, okay, so I put it on here. And the other book I read, also by Sonora Reyes, I liked this book. I could not give it an incredibly high rating simply because it's purely a romance book, and I'm just not into romance that much. But it's called The Broposal, and it's about these two guys. I can't remember their names. I'm not gonna look it up. And they're best friends. They're both Mexican. Just off the bat, they're both Mexican, okay? But one of them is undocumented. He's been in America since he was young. I want to say like 6 or 10 years old, something like that. His parents still live back in Mexico, but he lives with his aunt and uncle and his cousin. His other friend, he was born in America. I think he's like 3rd or 4th generation or something. He is dealing with, he might get deported if he can't get his green card, and his other friend just broke up with his long-term girlfriend, and he is not looking for another relationship anytime soon. And he's like, hey, why don't we get married, right? We'll be able to convince people it's legit. We have to lie to everyone, though, because we can't let, the immigration department, know about this. It's the classic, fake dating to lovers, which is I don't really give a fuck about. But I read it because I like the author, and I think it was a Hispanic Heritage Month challenge on Goodreads. And I did like it. It was cute. It was perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with this book. I just don't care that much about a simple fake dating to real dating love story. But it's cute. So if you like it, go read it. It's good. Almost done this section. I just have 2 more books. Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. And we all know that if you're a real Fujo, you've read a Tingler or 2. We're all buckaroos around here. Anyway, this is my way of saying that I unironically love, love Chuck Tingle as a human being. I love them so much. I put Bury Your Gaze on here because technically the main character is a gay man. He's in a relationship with another man. But in terms of yaoi content, there's not really a lot to say. This book was more about AI and the commodification of like queer identity as being marketable versus unmarketable. It was a really good, really intelligent book. I think I actually liked this one better than Camp Damascus, his previous book. He's got another one out too, I think. I haven't read that one yet. This one was good. Not a lot of yaoi content, but technically I'm putting it on here. Also, I just want to shout out my man, Chuck Tingle. Trot on buckaroos and all that. Love is real. And I give Bury Your Gaze an 8 out of 10 because it's a good book. And then, oh my god. Okay, this was another one I read for my young adult and libraries class. And it pissed me off like you wouldn't fucking believe. It's called Most Ardently. And it's part of this series called like Classic Retellings, I think it is, which it's a bunch of different authors, but they all have written retellings of different classic stories, I believe all for a young adult audience, and they do it through, I don't know if it's specifically like a queer lens or just like a general like diverse lens. Like I don't know if they're all rewritten to be queer or if, you know, they change like the cultural setting or something like that. I'm actually not sure, but it's a series, so don't take the whole series based off my opinion on this book. And also, I'm sure there is some fucking 14-year-old trans boy out there who loves this book, and to you, you know, I'm sorry, you know, like that's fine. You can love this book, but this book really pissed me off. So it is a queer retelling of Pride and Prejudice. And first of all, I want to say, other than sharing the same settings and names, this story has nothing to fucking do with Pride and Prejudice. It does not emulate any of the themes of the original story, because this story is about Elizabeth Bennet as a trans man. I actually can't remember his name. I feel bad. I can't remember his name, but I'll just call him Bennet. So like Bennet is a trans man, but they only ever call him a trans boy, which is like, isn't the original Elizabeth Bennet like 27 fucking years old? I think this character is 18, but still, he only ever refers to himself as a boy rather than a man, which really ticks me off in terms of like, you know, like the infantilization of trans men. Whatever. Basically, in this story, instead of being about what fucking Pride and Prejudice is about, it's basically he's like living this double life where he knows Mr. Darcy as Elizabeth Bennet and they don't get along, but then he knows him as his male identity and they do get along and they are friends. And like, okay, you're like, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? The thing that pisses me off about this book is that, you know how people always say, queer people have always been here. We have always existed in history. That is true. 100 million% undeniably true. What pisses me off about this book is that it tells this story like it doesn't actually believe this, because these characters are all queer in the very modern sense of the word. They all have very modern sensibilities about queerness and queer identity. They all know the difference between gender and sex and, you know, sexual attraction versus romantic attraction versus, you know, aesthetic attraction. All these terms that we use today as part of queer theory, but were not part of queer theory and identity 200 fucking years ago. Everybody knows exactly the perfect thing to say all the time. The thing that really makes me crazy about this book is that the main character is like, I can't live a lie. I need to be my true self, which is fair. I'm not saying that this is a bad message, but the main character has a best friend who is a lesbian who chooses to essentially enter into a marriage of convenience with a man, because as a woman, even though she loves other women, she cannot provide for herself, and neither could any other woman that she has a romantic relationship with. So she decides to enter into a marriage of convenience with a man. And the main character is very condemning of this. He's like, well, I just couldn't do that. I couldn't live a lie. Okay? Some people have to do that. For some people, this isn't an option. It's not about giving in or living a lie. It's about survival. And while on a page level, the main character concedes and says, oh, well, we all have different ways to make us happy and live our lives, the story still very quietly condemns her by having the guy that she entered this marriage of convenience with, Mr. Collins, I think it is, be like a fucking violent transphobe homophobe. So in its own way, it is condemning her for choosing to live her life this way. So for the entire story, right, Bennett's mother is very, very, like, misogynistic, right? Like, she's always speaking about, like, the roles of women, and women shouldn't act like this, and women shouldn't act like that, and she's very critical of him for the entire story. And then when he comes out and says, I'm not a girl, I'm not a boy, she's like, well, of course you are. And this is no way for a boy to behave. My son shouldn't be wearing dresses. That's ridiculous. And it's like, whoa. It's really cool and epic and woke how your mom is a fucking trans-accepting misogynist woman. And, okay, the thing about the Bennetts is that none of them can inherit property because they're all daughters. There's like 3 or 4 daughters. I can't remember. I'm not actually a big Pride and Prejudice fan. I'm sorry. They're all women. They can't inherit property. The main character's father gets a doctor to attest that he was assigned male at birth, because at this point in time there's no like birth certificate, so he will attest that he delivered him and that he is male. And now, epic win, he can inherit his family's property. Whoa, that's so cool that we accept trans people but we don't believe in women's rights. I love that. That's such a cool epic win. And it's like, oh my god, this is the most fucking ignorant book I've ever read. It made me so fucking angry. It's like, ooh, you might love trans men, but you hate women in this story. You fucking hate women, don't you, you son of a bitch. It's so cool and epic because women don't have rights, but men do, and he's a man, so yay! This book is so stupid. I hate this fucking book. I hate this book. I hate this book. It gave me brain damage. I had to finish it for a class. I gave it a 2 out of 10. I don't like this book. My last category is yaoi deplorable. If you're a yaoi head, if you're a Fujo, you know what this means. This is the category where all the straight trash goes. And I don't even necessarily mean stories that are bad. I mean stories that are just, they don't have any limits. You know, you got the dubious consent, the problematic age gaps, the, you know, just straight up rape and sexual violence, assault, pedophilia, all that stuff that comes with the territory of reading a lot of yaoi. If you have read a lot of yaoi in your life, you've run into a lot of stories like this. And it's just part of the game. And you know what? I do read them. There's some of them that have elements that I enjoy, but they're not perfect, and I don't necessarily recommend anyone read anything on this part of the list, unless you're just like me and you have a sixth sense of curiosity, okay? The first one is not actually that bad. It was a manhwa I read, like a webtoon. It's called Dead or Alive, and it's in this kind of like post-apocalyptic-ish Old West setting about this guy who's like a bounty hunter, and he's chasing his last bounty to retire, because if you bring in like 100 bounties, you get like $30 million, something like that. I don't fucking remember. And he's trying to track down this guy called Johnny the Scammer, and who is this guy who's known for like swindling sweet old ladies out of their money by pretending he's a nice young man. And so he tracks down this guy, and he's like, it's not me, I'm the wrong guy. And he's like, that's just what you would say, scammer. And, you know, they get chased by bandits through the desert. They have gay sex for no reason, and the guy has a cock that's like this big, and the guy has a waist that's like this big. So, you know, you can imagine how that went. It was fine. Like, the art was okay. I liked the design of the older guy. I can't remember his name right now, but he was pretty hot. I liked his design. He had a lot of chest hair. I liked that. It wasn't that bad. There was like a little bit of like dubious consent. Other than that, it was just kind of trashy. Oh, and there was a scene where this guy tried to rape Johnny. That was the other thing. But you know, it's par for the course and shit like this. It doesn't even register to me anymore. It was fine. It was not like amazing. I thought it would be kind of like a better story about them like falling in love or something like that. But no, it's just like a lot of sex. The one thing that I did like in the end is that, spoilers, but he is the scammer. He spends all this time being like, I'm not the scammer. I forget the other guy's name. How am I gonna get the bounty hunter to trust me? And then it's like, oh yeah, I was the scammer, tee-hee. But whatever, they end up living in like a cottage together and getting a dog. It's fine. It's fine. The next bunch of manga I've read were all by the same mangaka. I can't remember her name. She has some sort of like online screen handle. She's written like a bunch of stuff, including like doujinshi and stuff. They're not necessarily related. They all technically take place in the same universe, and some of the characters like cameo between them, and some of the characters are like shared between different stories, which I think is funny because all these stories are super trashy, but she clearly puts a lot of thought into them, which I think is kind of funny. The first one is Yatamomo, which is, once again, I read this one like a few years ago, and I was thinking about it again this year because I was just in like a really yaoi mood, and I couldn't remember what it was called, so I googled yaoi manga about homeless guy, and I was able to find it. It worked. Thank you, Google. So it's about this guy, these two guys, one of them's named Yata, the other's named Momota. Momota is like this really like, you know, cute kind of demure guy, but he's homeless and he has like a really shitty personality, versus Yata is like this a really sweet, like pretty genuine guy who has like a weakness for cute things, and he can't help but want to help Momo. Like, he meets him in a bathroom when he's literally wiping cum out of his ass, and then he's like, hey, I'll suck you off for 20 bucks, and he's like, you're coming home with me, but in a way that he's like genuinely trying to help him. But then he does also end up having sex with him, and they have like crazy rough sex and like whatever. I think the thing that really surprised me about this story is that like I actually kind of like it. Like, it is deplorable. It is deplorable, yeah, do not get me wrong. There's rape and pedophilia in this, but it's like, it had like very surprisingly like genuine like aspects of its writing. Like the fact that, you know, like, yeah, Momo kind of like lives off Yata's charity, and before this he had a relationship with like another man where he was basically just like his boy toy, but he had like no humanity in that relationship, and he had really no say in anything that happened. It was basically just sexual abuse. Momo's like, you know, like, I don't want to be like that with Yata. Like, he's a really nice guy and I like him, and so he goes out and he finds his own job and he learns to support himself and he does shit, even though it's hard, because he wants to have his own like autonomy and he doesn't want to rely on Yata all the time, even though Yata's totally willing to do that for him because he cares about him. He's like, no, like, I want to have a relationship with you as an equal, which was like a level of like consciousness in writing that I did not expect from a story like this. And like, yeah, Momo also has like a backstory where it's like his mother was a sex worker, and because of this he also started like selling himself at a very young age. And like don't get me wrong, some of this is just like straight up fetish content. It's not explicit, it's not, but it's also not reserved in any way. He sold himself at like a very young age, and you know, he has like a lot of trauma from this, and I'm actually surprised by how, like, once again, how genuinely like this story like took these feelings, and how complicated they wrote his relationship with his mother, because, you know, like, she was a victim of rape, and, you know, like, that's how he was conceived, and that's how she had to turn to sex work to support him. So there's like a lot of resentment between the two of him, where she resents him for being born, he resents her for not protecting him from these kinds of things. But they reach a sort of like level of like understanding in the end, where, you know, like, they're never gonna be like mother and son, but she is at the same time relieved that Momo has someone now that can take care of him and like understand him. Honestly, like, yeah, there's stuff like that. Like, why is this like genuinely like kind of sweet? Like, it is very, very trashy. It's very, very trashy, but it still has elements of the story that are like, why do I kind of fuck with this? Like, why do I kind of fuck with this? So that's probably like my favorite out of them. Well, no, there's another one I like better, but like, this is like a 5 out of 10. It's fine if you are okay with deplorable shit. If you have a high pain tolerance for bad content, it's fine. Right? It's fine, right? It's readable. There's elements of it that I feel like were genuinely thoughtful. The next one is, it's two different stories, but it's the same manga. It's Yoru to Asa no Uta, and then Yoru to Asa no Uta, etc., or the Song of Asa and Yoru, or the Song of Night and Day. And basically it's about these two guys who are like in a band, and the one guy, Asa, accidentally has anal sex with Yoru. It was an accident, guys. The lights were off. How was he supposed to know? But he's like, it turns out that like Yoru has actually been like in love with Asa for years, and he only like became a musician because he saw his really shitty band perform when he was in middle school, and he like followed him to his high school and all this shit. But it's really funny because it's like Yoru is like this really tall, handsome, like cool guy that's genuinely talented and everybody loves, versus like Asa is like this short loser that has a shitty personality and nobody likes him. And it's just so funny because it's like, yeah, like Yoru is just like so obsessed with him, and Asa's like, ew, I don't like you. You're gay. Even though I fucked you in the ass that one time, but that was an accident. You're gay. Stay away from me. And like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. But they end up hooking up a bunch, and then of course, you know, fucking Asa gets like kidnapped and sexually assaulted. You know, classic yaoi shit. Classic yaoi shit. And Yoru comes and saves him, and they end up having like a genuine relationship. And it's kind of cute. It's fine. It's kind of, there are parts of it that I'm like, okay, yeah, like this is cute. I don't think it has very thoughtful characters in the way that I think like Yatamomo was a little bit better with that, but it's fine. It is less deplorable than Yatamomo, but I still liked Yatamomo better as a story, but I still gave it like a 5 out of 10. They're fine. It's fine. The last one by this same mangaka is one called Happy Shitty Life, and this was the only like long running series by this author. The rest of these are just like one volume. They're like 7 to like 10 chapters each or something like that. This was the one that was like long running. It's still ongoing actually, and it's about these two guys. One of them, he was like a big city like office worker who was dating the CEO's daughter, but he got caught getting pegged by her in the office. So they've exiled him to this small town, and his neighbor is like, hey buddy, I get you. I also like getting fucked in the ass. And they both just like really want to get pegged by women, and they bond over this, and they're like, why don't we just fuck each other in the ass? And so they do that, and it's really funny. Their names are like Kazuya and like Kuzusa, something like, or Kazuya and Kuzuya or something like that. They have almost like the exact same name. They're the exact same height, and like one of them has blonde hair, one of them has black hair, but apparently they look exactly the same and nobody can fucking tell them apart. And like there's even a part where he's like, my dick is way bigger than yours. No way, my dick is way bigger than yours. Yours is so fucking puny and tiny. And they take out rulers and their dicks are the exact same size. And you might be like, how can you make a whole story out of this? I don't know, but it is really funny. There's lots of gay sex in it. There is one of the guys, his backstory is that he got raped by this one guy in middle school, but he's like, oh, we're in love, you're my boyfriend. And he's like, that was never consensual. And he's like still like chasing him around and trying to rape him. You know, classic yaoi shit, guys. Classic yaoi shit. It is genuinely really funny. And it's just like, it's really gross at some points too. Like, these guys have like some fucking weird ass kinks. Don't read it. I mean, if you like, I think like the one diversity win is that there is like there's flip flop fucking, right? And they both want to bottom, and they always argue about who gets to bottom because they just love getting fucked in the ass. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so funny. I can't wait for more to come out. There's like a whole volume out right now that hasn't been translated, and the person who was translating it is like, "Sorry, I've been working on this. Like my dog died or something like that." And I'm like, "It's okay, man. Take your time." That one I gave a 6 out of 10 because it is still really bad, but it's so funny. It's so funny. And then in the deplorable category, this has the lowest rating simply because how much it pisses me off. It's called Vihito Sajo's father in The Subordinate, and it's about Sajo's father from Dokusei, you know, the one that was like homophobic and started like calling his son and his partner slurs after his wife died. And it's about him being like, oh, maybe I need to learn to accept my son and how he's gay. I need to have sex with men. What? Are we fucking kidding? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, it's such a trashy extension of what is genuinely such an emotionally good story, and it just makes me sad because it's like it makes me feel like they killed off Sajo's mom so his father could fuck men. And it's like, it's so trashy. And yeah, so anyway, he's this young guy who exclusively loves fucking old men in the ass, and so he hooks up with old men and fucks them roughly. It's so bad. It's so trashy. I don't understand how this person wrote one of my favorite like love stories of all time. It's so trash. It's so trashy. But yeah, his dad ends up like hooking up with him, like this guy. They didn't fuck roughly in the ass, not yet, but he like touched his penis or something or sucked him off. I can't remember. Because he's like, I need to understand the queer experience. I'll suck your penis. And it's so fucking funny because it's like Kusakabe and Sajo like run into him in like the gay district of Tokyo, and Sajo's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, so I'm not allowed to be here? And it's like, you called them slurs! No, you're not allowed to be here! Get out of here! Get out of here! So that's it. That's my Yaoi Wrapped for 2025. So, you know, Merry Yaoi Miss. Have a happy new Yuri. I hope I discover many more exciting yaoi in the year to come, and I hope that you do too. And I hope Heated Rivalry Season 2 has like 5 times the amount of gay sex as Season 1. I hope it's just gay sex. I hope that's all it is. I hope that's all it is. If you watch this, thanks for watching. Go and Fujo out.